This is the video for your Unit 4 session. Our first question, so we're going to talk about finding unit rates from tables and diagrams in this video. And let's start with tables. For each one of these tables, we are asked to find the unit rate. Remember that a unit rate needs to have a 1 in the denominator. Needs to have a 1 in the denominator. Okay, so always remember this. Unit rates always need a 1 in the denominator. So the next step we need to talk about is, how do I find a unit rate from a table? Well, remember that unit rates can be formed using the form y over x. Okay, this is the ratio that we are going to use to write our unit rate. And when you're looking at a table, the first column is always going to be x, and the second column is always going to be y. Okay, so first column with the electronic toys will always be x. Second column here, it is represented with batteries. That is always going to be your y. From here, let's pick a pair. So I'm going to pick this first pair up here where I have 5 and 20. Okay, 20 is my y value, so I'm going to take this 20 and replace it right here where this y is. 5 is my x value, so I'm going to take this x and replace it with 5. Now this is not my unit rate, and it's not a unit rate because it has a 5 in the denominator, not a 1. So in order to make it a unit rate, we need to simplify it. So in order to go from this 5 to 1, I need to divide by 5. And anything that I do to the bottom, I need to also do to the top. 20 divided by 5 is going to give me 4. So that means that the unit rate for this graph is, this table is 4. Our next one, so again we're finding the unit rate. Remember that your first column is always x, your second one is always going to be y. And let's put our y over x here. And I always use the top one. It doesn't matter which pair you use from the table, because when you simplify them, you will always get the same answer after it's been simplified. Okay, so again, it doesn't matter which pair you use, you just need to pick one. So my y here is going to be 1320, and my x is going to be 11. Remember, I need a unit rate, which means I need to have a 1 in the denominator. So to do that, I'm going to divide top and bottom by 11. Here's where I would recommend pulling open a calculator to help you. And I'm going to type in that 1320 and divide it by 11. And that tells me I get this 1.2. So that means that the unit rate for this graph is going to be $1.20. Okay, so my unit rate is $1.20. I know it's my unit rate because this one in the denominator here. Sometimes you'll be given tables like this, and vertical tables are labeled slightly different, but kind of think about it like if you were reading a book. If I look at this table here, X comes first. I read from left to right. So when I'm starting, here's my start and here's my end, right? When I start reading, I'm starting here and going this way. My starting point is always my x. It's the same thing with vertical tables, where whichever item you see first, that is your x. So here time is going to be x and distance will be y. So again, pretend like you're reading. The first column that you see is always going to be your x. And again, we're going to pick a pair. Now this is where you need to be very careful with these vertical tables, or horizontal tables, sorry, because remember that our formula for writing unit rates is going to be y over x, okay? Notice how this looks like a fraction, but you need to be careful, okay? Because my y value is 536, and my x value is 1. Which means that my unit rate for this table is actually 536 over 1. And I don't need to simplify this anymore because I already have that 1 in my denominator, which tells me that this is a unit rate. Okay. Okay, so when you see these horizontal tables, remember that you kind of need to flip it, and your answers should always be flip-flopped from what you see in your table. All right, now let's move on to diagrams. So we're going to find unit rates of diagrams. And this is not much different from tables, except it looks different, certainly. And your x value is always going to be the top part, right? Notice how I have these little rectangles that represent my reams of paper. This is my x, and whatever values you have on your bottom is going to be your y. So again, we just need to write this in the form y over x. I'm going to use this pair right here. My y is 1188, and I have 4 reams of paper. So 4 is going to go in the bottom. I am not done because I need to find a unit rate, which means I need to have a 1 in the denominator. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 4. Again, pull out that calculator to help you do this a bit quicker. I have 1188 divided by 4, and that tells me 297. So what this unit rate tells me is that I am paying $2.97 for each 1 ream of paper. So here's another diagram. Again, our x's are up top with the diagram part, and then our y is going to be on the bottom. Again, I need to write this in the form y over x. I always choose the smaller numbers because I think it's a bit easier to work with smaller numbers. Again, you can choose either side of the diagram, and regardless of which side you choose, when you simplify it to get that 1 in the denominator, your answer will always be the same. Y is 3.75, and our x is going to be 3 ounces of coffee. I need to get to have a 1 in the denominator, so I'm going to divide top and bottom by 3. So again, pull back that calculator, and we're going to do 375 divided by 3, and I get 1.25. So my unit rate for this diagram is going to be 1.25. The last question I want to do here is finding a missing value, and these ones are not super tricky. We just have one extra step after we find our unit rate. Okay, so when you are asked to find a missing value like this in the table, the first thing that you want to do is find your unit rate. Okay, so first, find your unit rate. Okay. In order to find our unit rate, we need to use the part of the diagram that gives us all of the information we need, which means both our x and our y. So let's do our y over x. My y is 2 ounces of soap, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drops of lemon oil. And I'm going to put that over 1. I need to divide by 10 on top and bottom. 2 divided by 10. Again, this one, be careful, it is not 5. Remember that your order matters when you are dividing. 2 divided by 10 is going to give me 0.2. Okay? So my unit rate is 0.2. This tells me that I am using 0.2 ounces of soap for every 1 drop of lemon oil. Okay? Because this 2 represented ounces of soap, and this 10 represented these 10 drops of oil. So I'm using 0.2 ounces of soap for every 1 lemon drop of oil. Okay. Now this second part, so the next step, once we find our unit rate, we want to use that unit rate and we want to multiply it by our known. And my known for this side of my equation is this part here. I know that I use 0.8 ounces of soap. Okay, so I have this 0.2 ounces over 1, and I'm going to multiply it by this 0.8. Hold on. I think So instead of multiplying it by the known, since this does not work every time, I apologize. I thought it was flipped. Let's set up a proportion. And a proportion is simply two fractions that are set equal to each other. So I need to know 0.8 ounces of soap, right? So in my head, I need to kind of think, if I'm at 0.2, what can I multiply 0.2 by to get 0.8? And forget the decimals and think you were just going from 2 to 8. 2 times 4 would give me 8. So let's times 4 on the top, and anything you do to the top, you need to do to the bottom as well. Same thing with our division. So 1 times 4 is going to give me 4, which means that you are going to use 4 drops of lemon oil to make 0.8 ounces of soap. Alright, the quiz code for this unit session is skeleton. It is all lowercase. Make sure that you type it with all lowercase letters. That is all that I have. Remember that I do go into each quiz and grade some of the questions, so your score will go up after I grade it. If you need help with anything, please let me know.